Breaking news! Just days before their playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles are experiencing one of the most turbulent and uncertain weeks of the entire season. At the center of the storm is a crucial player, and we'll be talking about him in today's video. I'll tell you everything, but first, hit the like button if you believe the Eagles will beat the 49ers. Man, I really believe in it. If possible, right, go Eagles! Let's win! Now let's start by talking about Lane Johnson, the pillar of the offensive line, whose participation in Sunday's game remains shrouded in a web of conflicting information, deleted tweets, and internal speculation. Lane hasn't played since November due to a persistent foot injury, and while there was optimism that he would be ready for the wild card round, that optimism suffered a blow earlier this week when Brian Baldinger, someone with a close personal connection to Johnson, publicly stated that he didn't believe Lane would take the field. Now, normally, that wouldn't cause such a stir. But considering Baldinger's relationship with Johnson and his track record of accurate information, the comment landed like a thunderclap across the Philly fan base. Yet not even 24 hours later, another bombshell dropped, this time from ESPN's Adam Schefter, who stated on local Philly radio that he would be floored if Lane didn't play. It should be noted, though, that Schefter also admitted he hadn't spoken to anyone directly that week. That's what makes this whole thing so strange. We're hearing strong statements from people in the know, but even they seem to be flying blind to a degree. And then there's the twist. Baldinger later posted a now deleted tweet that simply said, "Lane is playing." No elaboration, no follow-up, just a statement. Was it based on new information? A change in Johnson's recovery trajectory? Or maybe it was just a moment of premature confidence? Either way, the tweet disappeared quickly, but not before it spread across Eagles Twitter like wildfire. As of now, Lane has been seen at practice this week, which is definitely encouraging. But the truth is, we probably won't get full clarity until game day. And for a team that desperately needs their all-pro right tackle to stabilize a shaky offensive line, that uncertainty looms large. Meanwhile, the Eagles' offense faces another pressing question. Will they finally turn Jalen Hurts loose in the run game? It's a valid question considering Hurts averaged fewer designed runs this season than in years past, hovering around 6 carries per game compared to closer to 10 during his earlier seasons. A lot of that has been attributed to the coaching staff's decision to protect him during the regular season, especially considering the injuries he's dealt with. But with the playoffs now in full swing, the leash might finally come off. We've seen it before. In last year's snow game and even in the Super Bowl, Hurts was a force on the ground, using his legs to not only extend plays but to keep defenses honest and convert key first downs. It's not about scrambling, it's about designed quarterback runs, draws, powers, and options. This year, the Eagles have been far too predictable on offense. Adding that dynamic back into the fold could be the spark this unit needs to get back to their explosive identity. When Hurts runs with intention, defenses are forced to account for an entirely different layer of attack. That alone opens things up for the rest of the offense, and it's something Kevin Patullo and his staff simply have to tap into this week. And speaking of coaching, Patullo himself could be coaching for his future. The discourse around the Eagles' offensive coordinator has been gaining steam, especially now that several high-profile names are hitting the market. Kevin Stefanski, recently let go by the Browns, is reportedly being pursued by teams like the Falcons and Giants. But if he doesn't land a head coaching gig, some are speculating that Philadelphia could be an ideal fit for him as an OC. Stefanski brings extensive play-calling experience and a leadership pedigree, making him a clear upgrade over Patullo should the Eagles decide to move on. Another intriguing name that surfaced is Cliff Kingsbury. After a wildly inconsistent stint as OC with Washington, Kingsbury is back on the market. While this season was disappointing, it's worth noting that he led a top-tier rushing attack and was instrumental in Washington's NFC Championship run the year prior. Injuries to key players like Jaden Daniels plagued his 2026 campaign, but when healthy, his offenses have shown real creativity. Interestingly, Kingsbury was interviewed by the Eagles during their offensive coordinator search back in 2024, which means he's clearly on their radar. Would Philly take another look if Patullo can't turn things around this postseason? Of course, there's no guarantee any of these names will still be available by the time Philly makes a decision, if they make one at all. A deep playoff run or even a Super Bowl win could complicate things. Would the Eagles really fire their offensive coordinator after winning it all? It would be unprecedented, but not impossible given the season-long criticism of the offense's lack of identity and stagnation. Still, that's a conversation for later. For now, all eyes are on this weekend. On the defensive side, things are looking slightly more optimistic. Nakobe Dean is expected to return after missing significant time, and his presence will be a welcome addition to a linebacker unit that has struggled with consistency and injury all season. Also practicing this week were Jalen Carter, Dallas Goedert, Marcus Epps, and Jalen Phillips, all key contributors who appear on track to play. If they're healthy, that could be the boost the Eagles need to match up with a San Francisco team that's also limping into this game. And let's talk about the Niners for a second. They're banged up, too, especially at linebacker. Tatum Bethune is out for the year, and D. Winters missed practice this week. That's why San Francisco made a surprising midweek move, signing former Eagles linebacker Kazir White. White had a strong season with Philly in 2022, tallying over 100 tackles before spending the last 2 years with Arizona and briefly Tennessee. But let's be honest, he's not the player he was. Injuries have hampered his recent play, and while he's reportedly healthy now, expectations should be tempered. There's a reason he was available in January. Still, with the Niners desperate for depth, White might see snaps right away, though how effective he'll be is anyone's guess. He and Eric Kendricks, another aging vet on San Francisco's roster, have both seen better days. This is an area the Eagles have to attack. If the coaching staff leans into mismatches and exploits the Niners' thin linebacker core, this offense could finally look like the one we expected all season. But again, that depends on play calling. That depends on Jalen Hurts being the full version of himself. That depends on Lane Johnson suiting up and anchoring the right side of the line. There are so many ifs surrounding this game, which makes it all the more compelling and all the more dangerous for a team that's struggled with inconsistency for much of the year. So, with everything going on, from Lane Johnson's mysterious status to the potential unleashing of Jalen Hurts in the run game, to the OC speculation swirling around Kevin Patullo, what do you think is the biggest X factor for the Eagles heading into Sunday's playoff showdown? Let me know in the comments.